Levi Ackerman, a man known mostly as humanity's strongest soldier, has gained a reputation both within the series and the fanbase as one of the strongest characters in the Attack on Titan verse. This is despite the fact that he is not a Titan shifter and has not only held his own against Titan shifters, but utterly decimated them in combat. Because of that, he is one of the most interesting characters to power scale and has led many to wonder just how strong he actually is. And that is exactly what I plan to explore in today's video. But before I get into that, be sure to like and subscribe if you want more videos like this, and be sure to comment when you finish the video. All of that helps me out immensely and allows me to put out more videos like this. And with that, let's get on with the video. Like in most videos of this nature, I am going to discuss Levi's strength first. And he is much stronger than your average person. Because of the increased strength that he gets from his Ackerman biology, he is not only capable of beating up any normal human in a fistfight, he is also pulling off physical feats most prime athletes could only dream of. However, we do also need to remember that Levi isn't fighting with his fists like a Titan would. His typical weapon of choice are the ultra-hard steel blades that come equipped with every standard set of ODM gear. With these swords, he is able to make extremely deep cuts in pure Titans and Titan shifters alike. Pure Titans are able to destroy buildings and structures without taking any noticeable damage to their own bodies. Plus, it is a fact that the flintlock weapons Paradis had are not enough to puncture deep like his swords do. The most we see them do is give Titans some bloody faces. So Levi's attack potency is well above what you can expect from any firearm available on the island at the time. From all of this, we can get that his attack potency with his swords should be somewhere above building level. That being said, he has more than swords at his disposal. He also has access to the Thunder Spears, which are capable of not only getting through the armored Titan, it is also shown to be capable of destroying the hardening of the Beast Titan, who, remember, has similar damage capabilities against Reiner as Eren did in their respective fights. This might even suggest that the Thunder Spears are more powerful than these Titan shifters in their physical strength. For more context on this though, I do recommend watching my previous video in this series on how strong Eren is exactly and what kind of numbers this entails before continuing on with this video. But yeah, that is crazy powerful, easily making this weapon exert several hundred tons of force, which is kinda weird since the Thunder Spears aren't based on Titan science as far as I can tell, they're just really good bombs. That's really odd considering how not advanced their technology is, but whatever, that's fiction for you. The best I can say to explain it is that it is a very focused blast and completely ignores the laws of the conservation of energy. But hey, since when is AOT giving a shit about physics anyway? Now that we have discussed power though, let's talk about speed, because this is where we can talk with a bit more certainty. Again, we have to go back to the specs of the ODM gear. We are never given an exact number on how fast this is from Isayama himself, but we aren't clueless either. In the official book, The Science of Attack on Titan, we are told that the ODM gear likely flies people around at up to 101 meters per second. Now, I do have to admit that the canonicity of this book is debatable. It's not written by Isayama, but he did provide the illustrations for it, and we don't know how much oversight he had in this book's production. What I can say is that this number is consistent with the series. This much speed would allow people to deal with pure Titans, and while most people would absolutely be unable to deal with these speeds, we do know that all people who use it go through immense training for it. So canonicity aside, this number is good for giving us at least a decent range for the speed of this device. However, what is truly remarkable about Levi cannot be owed to the device strapped to him, and it is his combat and reaction speed. As I established in my How Strong is Eren video, most Titan shifters have insane combat speed, able to break the sound barrier with their attacks and able to react to the supersonic speed of cannon fire. And how does Levi react to these kinds of attacks? He absolutely decimates them. He not only reacts to their punches and attacks, he intercepts those strikes and makes several deep cuts along their body before they even know what's happened. Plus, we do have the moment when he saw the rocks thrown by the Beast Titan as if they were moving in slow motion and physically reacted to them. There's also the matter of him possibly being a bullet timer, as he is shown dodging gunfire in the Uprising arc. I think this is a little contentious though, since there are points where he uses a cloak for cover against Kenny, or his dodging can just as easily be attributed to how hard it is to hit a moving target, but it is definitely a possibility and is totally up to how you interpret these scenes. Lastly, we have durability, which is by far the weirdest one to scale, and you'll see why in a second. At first, I thought it was pretty straightforward. Like, obviously he's tougher than your average human, but he's still gonna get shredded by bullets like a normal person, otherwise Kenny has no reason to try and kill him with them. But there are a couple moments in this series that need to be discussed. The first is all the way back in the Female Titan arc. In this scene, Mikasa is about to get hit by Annie and Levi intercepts the attack. However, based on the cracking sound effect and the pained expression, he probably broke something important, like maybe his ankle or even his whole foot. That isn't even to mention that this hit is far from Annie's full strength. Like, look at how she's positioned in this panel. I want you, right now, to take a moment to punch the air like she is here. Backhand the air over your shoulder with your fist. You'll notice you're barely getting off a fraction of your full strength. Plus, the exact fraction of strength used is unquantifiable, and he still took damage, so it's hard to treat this as a real durability feat. Now, the second scene in regards to this that I want to talk about is a manga spoiler, so go to the spot in the timeline shown on the screen if you don't want to be spoiled. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so when Levi took the explosion of the Thunder Spear after his third fight with Zeke, I already spent a good deal of time going over how absurdly powerful this weapon is, so how is it possible that he survived taking hits from a weapon that is so much stronger than bullets when he is implied to also be vulnerable to bullets? Well, that is more simple than you might think. For one, he did not take the explosion at point blank range. He took it somewhat close, but what did damage more than anything appears to be the shrapnel depicted. And I already talked about how this explosion is relatively concentrated compared to how powerful it is. This is where something called the Doppler effect comes in. The Doppler effect is basically how the frequency of a wave changes the closer or farther you get from its source. So the further you get from the source of an explosion, the more immensely distributed the force of the explosion is. Take that into account with how the explosion is already crazy small for the amount of power it has, and it makes sense that Levi's split-second reaction to jump away meant the worst damage he took was from the shrapnel that fucked him up. So again, it's really hard to call this a durability feat. So with all of that taken into account, let's go over what conclusions we can draw from all of this information. In terms of physical power, he's able to outperform the flintlock firearms of parity with his swords, but those same swords are useless against even Reiner's armor. With that taken into account, I think it's reasonable to place his attack potency at around 40 metric tons. However, I do want to be clear that this stat is very ambiguous. Not only is the gap between normal Titan durability and the durability of the Armor Titan massive, it is also possible that I am somewhat overestimating the durability of normal Titans like Pure Titans. So I do recommend taking this stat with a grain of salt. Aside from his swords though, he has the Thunder Spears, which again were strong enough to break through Zeke's hardening. With reference to my video on Eren, this places the Thunder Spears at an attack potency of several hundred tons, possibly upwards of 600 tons. Again though, take this with a grain of salt, because the physics and mechanics of something like this producing so much power really makes no sense, unless you're taking into account fictional substances like the Iceburst Stone, which I suppose is a possibility. But anyway, speed. Much more clear cut. He has a subsonic travel speed with the ODM gear at probably around 100 meters per second, possibly higher, and a confirmed supersonic reaction and combat speed likely upwards of Mach 2, possibly higher if you consider him a bullet timer. As far as durability goes, feel free to give him those other big feats I mentioned where he got injured, but I won't for the reasons I already mentioned. And since his durability should reasonably be lower than his attack potency with his swords, but he is also more durable than the average human, I would give him a durability stat of at least 1 ton. Possibly higher depending on how you consider some of his scenes. But yeah, that's how I would personally scale Levi. Frankly, this was a lot harder to think about than the Eren video, since he has less scenes, and how he scales to some characters ranges from genuine feats to possible outright plot armor, to the point where it's hard to distinguish the two. But let's get to why a lot of you are probably here. In my Eren video, a bunch of people asked me what would happen if he fought Eren. Obviously, this is referring to the version of Eren after he got the Warhammer Titan, and, well, yeah, Levi kind of obliterates Eren. No difficulty. Levi has the speed to contend with the Jaw Titan, a Titan that is praised for its speed, outmaneuvered Annie's Titan, someone who is even more praised for her fighting ability, and when his Ackerman blood awakens, he has the fighting experience of every previous Ackerman. With his speed and skill, I really don't see what Eren can do against him. Sure, he has the Warhammer, but even the previous Warhammer was unable to hit Mikasa, and that was a more experienced Warhammer fighting a less experienced Ackerman. Even Eren's hardening ability doesn't matter. When fighting Annie, Levi had no difficulty overwhelming her and cutting her up before she could do anything. And now that we're further into the series, he has the stupidly powerful Thunder Spears that made Zeke's hardening look like nothing. I frankly see no way that Levi can lose this hypothetical matchup. Although if you do disagree with me on this, I am happy to hear why you think so. And that's the video. If you enjoyed it and want more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe, and comment to tell me your thoughts on the video in general. I'd love to hear from you, even if you disagree with me. Thanks for watching, and see you around.